Now then, YouTube, going to be reacting to a video here. This will be students fed every biblical prayer into Grok AI. What it decoded about God terrified them. This is from Optic Expedition. I'll leave the link in the description if you want to watch this without me talking. And yeah, we'll get straight into it.
Elon Musk is touting this AI. He says, you know, it's really, in a way, quite terrifying to see what it's doing.
This is the smartest AI in the world. Some of these things are just worth repeating. Like Grok 4 is PhD level in everything.
3 graduate students fed every prayer in.
I mean, to some degree it is. It struggles with logic and reasoning, I think. I've managed to tie Grok AI in knots with logic, but it's certainly good as an analysis tool in some capacity, I would say.
The Bible into Grok 4, expecting to expose contradictions and a human error scattered across 40 authors and 15 centuries.
Yeah, and I think this is like sort of maybe wishful thinking. It's specifically being compiled with the help of God Himself to be able to represent the best message God wants us to hear. So I would very much doubt there would be many sort of issues and contradictions within the Bible. I know that science throws up some, and certainly I have a few issues that I would feel I want to resolve theologically, such as, Genesis and evolution, because we can observe that evolution is a real force of nature. I've seen it. I've even bred animals, so I know that evolution is a real thing. But at the same time, obviously, God wouldn't lie to us about how we were made. And, that's not a topic for this video as such, but what I'm saying is that God has not contradicted himself, but it is merely maybe human interpretation, which is usually the flaw, me included, in our interpretation of the text, I would say.
AI didn't find errors. It found a hidden 4-step code buried in every single miracle. Same structure, same sequence, same mathematical precision, from Moses to Paul, from Bronze Age deserts to Roman prisons. People who never met, writing in 3 different languages across 1,500 years, all encoded the identical protocol. When the data came back, one student's face went white. He called his professor at 3 a.m., hands shaking, and said, "This pattern isn't human. Something else wrote this." What Grok decoded about the nature of God...
I do know of, certainly in the Old Testament, I'm not sure if it's the same in the New Testament. As far as I'm aware, in the Old Testament, there is a pattern, and it is almost supernatural how the text would read in Hebrew, based on the sort of mathematical formulation of the sentences. I haven't explained that very well because I don't understand it very well myself. Maybe, it's something you can research in your own time. Maybe I'll do a video on it in the future, but certainly very interesting that there is a sort of mathematical sequence or poetry style nature of the Old Testament, and maybe even in the New Testament, for all I'm aware of.
About what's actually receiving these prayers left the entire team unable to sleep for days. One researcher quit academia entirely. Another started questioning everything he'd built his career on. And once you understand what they found, you'll see why. The experiment that changed everything. Dr. Marcus Chin, a computer...
I will say I don't really like AI having to read everything. It's not particularly enjoyable on my end. AI, but we'll see what it's got to say.
Computational linguistics researcher at Stanford didn't believe in miracles. That's exactly why his graduate students asked him to supervise the experiment. They wanted someone skeptical, someone who would call out any flaws in the methodology. "I expected chaos," Chen later admitted in an interview. 40 different authors across 1,500 years, 3 languages, writing from dungeons, palaces, and deserts. There shouldn't be any structural consistency. That's not how human writing works. The team fed every recorded prayer from Genesis to Revelation.
Yeah, so I would say that that's back to what I was saying about, God helped these people determine what they should be writing down so that you would be able to discern these patterns later on. That's how I would interpret this anyway.
Writing works. The team fed every recorded prayer from Genesis to Revelation into Grok 4, Elon Musk's latest AI, built specifically to be a truth-seeking engine without modern bias. The instructions were simple: analyze sentence patterns, identify structural elements, find any common framework. Here's the deal. Critics have argued for centuries that the Bible is a patchwork quilt, messy, contradictory, the scattered fingerprints of shepherds, kings, fishermen, generals, and doctors who had nothing in common except being human. Grok was supposed to prove it. It didn't. The AI identified a master protocol, a hidden four-step structure present in every prayer that resulted in a recorded miraculous outcome. Same
It's interesting as well, because I've always thought that everything seems to be in threes in Christianity, like the Trinity, and then where people speak is often da 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 da. And what I mean, it always seems to me to be in triplets, but they're saying it's in quadruplets. So we'll see what else you have to say.
sequence, same architecture, same operational logic. Dr. Sarah Okonkwo, the team's data analyst from MIT, ran the numbers 3 times because she didn't believe the first result. The probability of this consistency occurring by chance? She paused. I stopped calculating when I hit odds that made winning the lottery look likely. It felt like discovering that people across 5 different continents who never communicated with each other had all written the exact same access code to the same system. And that access code, it still works. James Rodriguez, the youngest member of the research team, was the first.
I almost feel like in my experience with what occurred to me during my transformation is that some of the basis of this source code was like sort of uploaded into me to make me come onto the correct path of Christ and be able to understand sort of pre-existing knowledge I had and reorientate it and reconstruct it to God's liking so that I would understand the meaning of reality, essentially, to the point where I am now, where obviously I still need the Bible. I'm not saying I don't at all. The Bible is obviously the cornerstone that we all should be referring to. But I can certainly understand how some of these people who wrote things within the Bible would have been communicated to by God to be able to do so. I mean, I'm not that. I don't think I have I won't be writing any gospels or anything like that, so don't worry. The most I'll do is probably write my testimony up in a book, and that will probably be it. But saving that, it's I can 100% understand how this could be achieved, I think.
To test it himself. I thought I was being ridiculous, he told me. A data scientist trying an ancient protocol because an AI said it worked. But within 3 weeks, something shifted. Situations that had been stuck for months started resolving. I can't explain it scientifically. I can only tell you what happened. But here's...
Try giving us some examples instead of just giving us broad statements. So I kind of want to see some nitty-gritty.
Where it gets disturbing. The pattern wasn't just consistent. It was precise in ways that revealed something about the receiver of these prayers. Something the students weren't prepared to see. Something that suggested the prayers weren't going into a void. They were going somewhere specific. And that somewhere was responding according to rules that had been hidden in plain sight for 3,000 years.
Yeah, I mean, the thing I've had to accept since coming to Christ is that prayer works. Prayer, God is listening and God will his own benefit, well, not his own benefit, sorry, I don't want to misword this, but God will enact out prayers as he sees fit, should it be within his plan, which I think is why some Christians get a bit upset when God doesn't answer their prayer. But then I would say stop asking for prideful things, stop asking things to do with you. You're letting sin get in the way of God's divine plan for yourself, is what I would personally believe.
The anchor. The first step Grok identified was something it labeled the anchor, and it contradicts almost everything people do when they pray today. In every miraculous outcome, the prayer never started with the problem. Never. Not once. It started with focused recognition of who was being addressed. Modern prayer looks like a shopping list thrown at the sky. Health problems, money, issues, relationship crises, desperate requests launched up.
I'm going to be really honest as well. I never ask God for anything, and part of the reason I don't is because I'm just now fresh on God's path, and how do I know I'm not going to ask for things which aren't part of his plan? And if I ask for lots of money, how do I know that the enemy isn't going to tempt me back into doing sinful things with it? You know what I mean? So God will give me plenty of money when he sees fit. He will give me a wife when he sees fit. Obviously I have to have my hands on the wheel, and I need to be acting Christ-like and moving forward to the kingdom of heaven and God's own kingdom. But at the same time, it's not for me to try and manipulate and try and petition God to do things for my benefit. I know that I do him a great service when I ask him for things, and I bless him as well as him blessing me when I request things from God. But at this moment in time, I just can't bring myself to ask God for anything. I pray for other people, my friends and family, even the atheists. Pray for them, and that's all I do. That's the limit of my prayers.
Upward with no preparation, but the biblical data showed something radically different. Before making any request, the person anchored their entire awareness on the nature and power of the one receiving the prayer. Now, this is where it gets crazy. This wasn't religious ritual. This was neurological recalibration. Take King Jehoshaphat. 3 massive armies were converging to annihilate his kingdom. Hopeless situation. Any military calculation said he was dead.
I mean, I will say I'm not very aware of this story, being quite new to Christ and dismissing a lot of this as fanciful fairy tales in the past. I'm sort of unaware of this. I mean, I've heard of Jehoshaphat, but I'm not aware of the story at this moment in time.
But Jehoshaphat didn't start screaming for rescue. He stood up and made extensive declarations about the power and faithfulness of the God he was addressing. Power over all nations, might that no one could withstand. Only after establishing this foundation did he acknowledge the danger. He admitted his people had no power, but their eyes were fixed on the one who did. And get this, what happened next shouldn't have been possible. The 3 enemy armies became confused and started slaughtering each other. Not a single soldier from Jehoshaphat's kingdom died. They spent 3 days collecting abandoned supplies and wealth. Dr. Chen's hands were trembling when he showed me this data point. When I analyzed prayers that skipped the anchor step, he said, the correlation with miraculous outcomes dropped dramatically. It's not optional, it's load-bearing. Remove this step, and the whole thing collapses.
I'm a bit unaware of what he's talking about with this anchor point. I mean, is it the person that you're praying for is the important part? Is this what we're saying? I'm not 100% sure. Maybe somebody can clarify for me in the comments or give me a little bit of extra guidance.
He pulled up a chart on his laptop. Look at this. Prayers with full anchor sequences showed an 89% correlation with recorded positive outcomes.
I have no idea what an anchor sequence is. I hope he's going to explain this, or the AI, because it's not a person that's reading this, but I hope it is explained, because I'm quite intrigued. My curiosity is piqued.
Prayers that jump straight to the request, 17%. The difference isn't marginal, it's categorical. Neuroscience just confirmed what they were seeing.
So, am I presuming that we have to praise God first before? I mean, I generally do that in church. Maybe I'm a bit lazy with it at home. Maybe I forget to praise God before I pray for the other people I know. Although I will say that the only thing I've ever asked God for, is to dispel demons and stuff, because that has occurred. When I have asked Jesus cast them out and for them to leave me alone, he has done it instantaneously. It has been immediate thing. That's the only thing I've ever asked for. But then that's to keep me safe so I can move forward on God's path and bring more people to the faith. That's how I interpret it anyway. But yeah, I'm wondering if that's what this is. This anchor point thing is the praising of God first before you ask for things, which would be fair, you know. Otherwise, it's prideful, isn't it? If we're just asking for things and we're not putting God first, you know. In theory, by praising Him first, we are putting Him first before we put ourselves first and ask for the things at the end. I mean, maybe this is something where I've been going wrong in my prayer, to be fair. I mean, we'll have to see.
Brain focuses on something vast and powerful, rather than an immediate threat. It shifts from fight or flight to parasympathetic activation. Stress hormones drop. The prefrontal cortex, your problem-solving center, comes back online. The mind moves from panic mode to reception mode. Ancient writers encoded a technique that produces optimal brain states for receiving solutions. They couldn't have known about cortisol or neurotransmitters. They didn't have brain imaging or stress response research. So how did they discover it? How did people separated by centuries all arrive at the same neurological hack? Unless they...
I would presume it's like the same way that came across things, knowing inbreeding was bad and stuff, is observation. People who maybe praise God first and then ask for things have better results than people who are just praying. But I don't know. This is me just stabbing in the dark. I have no idea, to be fair.
They didn't discover it unless someone gave it to them. If you're finding this as disturbing as those researchers did, hit subscribe now, because the next 3 steps are going to change how you see everything. The alignment. But the anchor was just step 1. What the AI found next made Dr. Okonkwo question everything she'd ever believed about coincidence.
Something had gone wrong with the editing there. That was not a woman, but
The
carry on.
second step is where most people fail without realizing it. Grok identified that the most powerful prayers involved a fundamental shift in what the person was actually requesting. Here's the terrifying part. They didn't just ask for what they wanted. They asked for something that aligned with a larger purpose.
Yeah, I mean, that's what maybe I'm getting the hang of. What I've begun to understand that I can't just ask for things. So I can't ask God for a Ferrari. It's not on God's path. He doesn't care if I have a Ferrari. It's not going to make me close to God having a Ferrari. So maybe one day I'll have one. I very much doubt it. But as an example, at least I can use it to say that, yes, God wouldn't just grant any wish willy-nilly.
Consider Hannah. She couldn't have children. The emotional torment consumed her for years. She almost certainly prayed countless times for a son just to ease her own suffering. Nothing happened. Then the data shows a pivot. Hannah changed her prayer. She committed that if she received a son, she would dedicate him entirely to serve the higher purpose his whole life. She aligned her desire with something beyond personal benefit. She got her son. He became
This is troublesome though, because the son has free will. It's up to him to decide to choose God or not. I mean, maybe what is meant here is that she would do her best to put him on that path and give him to God, so that God would be able to use him in purpose and greatest benefit for her son. I'm a bit suspect about deciding your son's fate. I think that would fly straight in the face of God's plan for us all having free will and choice.
Samuel, one of the most influential prophets in biblical history. The pattern repeats relentlessly. Solomon could have asked for wealth, military power, long life. Instead, he asked for wisdom to properly lead his people, a request aligned with service.
Isn't Solomon one of the ones that aren't so good to look at though? Isn't he like, I don't like a lot of the Satanists and stuff traced back his teachings, because he turned his back on God and accepted the help of demons. Maybe I'm wrong about that. I'm not an expert on these. I can only judge things from the perspective of my own journey so far. But as far as I'm aware, I've always thought the name of Solomon to be particularly negative in Christianity. Maybe I'm wrong.
Rather than personal gain. Result, he received the wisdom and everything else besides. It's like signal interference, Dr. Chen explained, running his hands through his hair at 2 a.m. during our interview. Misaligned requests create static. The transmission gets corrupted. But when you align, when you ask for something that serves the larger system, the channel clears completely. He leaned forward.
I mean, I will say, and I did at Christmas, I asked God for the abilities that he has in store for me to give me them, or at least some of them anyway. And that did occur. So I requested something that was on God's path. And I would say that the abilities he've given me aren't really ones I would have ever asked for or were even aware of. But I see their purpose within I see their role within my purpose and how God would intend me to use them.
Is coffee long forgotten and cold? Think about radio frequencies. If you're broadcasting on 101.5, but the receiver is tuned to 98.7, it doesn't matter how loud you yell. The signal doesn't arrive. Alignment is tuning your request to the frequency the receiver is actually monitoring.
Yeah, and I mean, I would say that God still hears us. I think anytime you're praying to God, he hears you. But maybe, you have to do the prayer in the correct way if you want God to enact things out for you. I mean, I think even as an atheist, when I was in the depths of depression, that's when I was asking God to take my life. I didn't want to have to kill myself and hurt other people. If I thought if God takes my life at night time, that would alleviate the situation. And I was atheist, so this was like a desperate way out. And little did I know that reaching out for him to take my life, even though that wasn't a request he was ever going to grant, it was being received. He heard me. He was getting the notifications on his phone, so to speak. Obviously, he didn't listen. So, yeah, I mean, I kind of get this. I mean, I'm not sure if I'm misunderstanding how it's worded here, maybe. But, broadly agree with this.
This explains what has confused people for generations. Why some people seem to receive answers while others pray their whole lives and get nothing. It's not favoritism. It's not randomness. It's not cosmic indifference. It's signal clarity. Most people don't realize their own misaligned desires are blocking the very things they're requesting. They're broadcasting on the wrong frequency and wondering why no one's listening. The AI noted something else. The language in these aligned prayers was remarkably specific. No begging, no desperation, no emotional manipulation attempts. Only clear statements of fact and requests for positioning within a larger framework. James
Yeah, I mean, I completely get that as well. Yeah, I was begging for him to kill me, and he didn't do it. Point proven. They were right there.
Rodriguez put it differently. It's like the difference between a child screaming, "I want candy," and an employee submitting a purchase order through proper channels. Both are requests. Only one gets processed. One researcher compared it to a soldier reporting to a general. You don't beg the general to win the war. You request your orders so you can contribute to the victory. The focus shifts from personal rescue to participation in something bigger. But here's the catch. Alignment alone wasn't enough. The third step is the one that broke Dr. Okonkwo, the one that kept her staring at her ceiling until dawn. The surrender paradox. And that's when they saw...
This I think I can relate to. Like, I've had to admit to myself that just surrendering to God will yield better results than me trying to force them through in my own life. God will clear the way. He will, like, essentially give me loaded dice so that when I'm trying to achieve these things, if I'm putting God first, I will be more successful than if I'd tried on my own accord. That's how I perceive this. Anyway, we'll see what they've got to say.
Something that made Dr. Okonkwo lock herself in her office for 6 hours. Grok identified a third step it called the surrender paradox, and it violates everything the modern mind believes about getting results. Here's what the data showed. Prayers...
Yeah, it's like these weird things like the less you care, the more it's more likely to happen. That happens with relationships as well, unfortunately. I know a lot of people want to hear this, but the less you are consumed by this relationship working, the more likely it is we're going to work anyway. I mean, as long as you're doing good things within the relationship, being a responsible, husband, wife, etc. If you start worrying about it and start trying to, manipulate it, in essence, to your benefit, because you're unhappy with how it's going, you're only going to work against yourself. So it is surrendering to whatever God/fate has in store for you, which will generate the best results, in my opinion.
That demanded specific outcomes at all costs showed lower correlation with miraculous results. But prayers that made significant requests and then surrendered the outcome, those showed the highest correlation with reality-bending events. The most powerful example exists in a garden the night before a crucifixion. A leader facing unimaginable suffering asked for the pain to pass, but then he added 5 words that changed everything. Not my will, but yours. Grok marked this as the moment of highest recorded power in the entire data set. I kept staring at the screen, Dr. Okonkwo told me later. This wasn't giving up. The AI classified it as active trust, full engagement with the request while releasing attachment to the specific outcome. It's like the opposite of what we're taught works. Modern psychology has a parallel...
Yeah, because like sort of red pill and stuff like that would obviously teach you that the more you try at something, the more likely you are going to succeed, which I suppose in an atheistic point of view can still yield results. Repetition is the mother of skill. I've seen this happen when I've trained in kickboxing and stuff. Continual practice and trying to chase down greatness will, in many cases, allow it to unfold. But inside a religious framework, that seems to be completely flipped. And it isn't about how much you try. And that's one of the things I was taught when I was sent to hell for 2 minutes. Like, the more I tried to get away, the worse that experience was. And then when I surrendered and didn't try to escape, God put me back in my body. Yeah, I won't get too much into that for now.
Concept, radical acceptance. Research shows when the human brain stops fighting, present. Circumstances and accepts them, stress chemistry shifts. The prefrontal cortex comes back online. Cognitive resources previously burned on resistance become available for navigation. But here's the terrifying part. This surrender element appeared at the critical junction of every powerful prayer, across every culture, every century, every language in the text. These people had no way to coordinate this. No workshops, no shared teachers, no communication across millennia. yet they all arrived at the identical psychological posture at the moment of maximum power. I didn't sleep that night, Dr. Okonkwo admitted. I kept asking myself, how is this possible without a single author behind it? 40 people across 15 centuries accidentally coordinated the same psychological posture at the same critical moment in their most powerful prayers? That's not coincidence, that's design. She showed me her notebook from that night, pages of calculations crossed out and redone. Probability, estimates, margin notes that just said impossible underlined 3 times. The odds of this surrender element appearing by chance in every effective prayer across all these authors? She laughed, but there was no humor in it. You'd have better luck predicting every lottery winner for the next 1,000 years. The Bible calls this peace that passes understanding. Grok calls it optimal allocation of mental resources. Either way, the mechanism appears to work.
What?
The Bible calls this peace that passes understanding. Grok calls it optimal allocation of mental resources. Either way, the mechanism appears to work.
But this is the first time I've heard both those phrases, to be honest with you.
And the 4th step explains why timing matters more than anyone realized, and why most people give up right before the breakthrough happens. The persistence. The final step demolished the biggest misconception about prayer and revealed why most people give up right before the breakthrough. Grok found that significant miracles were almost never associated with single requests. The pattern required repetition. The prophet Elijah prayed 7 times for rain before seeing even a small cloud. Daniel prayed for 21 days before receiving his answer. The data is unambiguous. Persistence isn't just encouraged, it's structural. This destroyed the vending machine model, Dr. Chen said, shaking his head.
Yeah, I would say maybe I'm guilty of this vending machine model. Sometimes I just think, ring up God. Sorry, ring up God for a quick minute. When really I should be more intentional and more habitual, more methodical with my prayer. I do admit that. I've known that for a while, but as I said, it was only in December that I was sort of awarded the new heart from Christ and given the Holy Spirit filled me up. So it's understandable there would be some conflict between my brain and my heart, trying to get me to do the correct thing at this correct time, especially with the enemy still trying to draw me away, trying to make me engage in some of the more sinful activities like sloth, wrath, lust, etc., which obviously I've been fighting off as best as I can.
People think you put in a request, get a result, but the duration of asking is as important as the content, maybe more important. He showed me a timeline analysis. Look at the major recorded miracles. Average time between initial prayer and recorded outcome, 23 days. Some took months. Elijah's 7 prayers for rain happened in a single session, but Daniel persisted for 3 weeks before anything changed. And get this, the AI's analysis implies the delay isn't just waiting time. The delay serves a function. It develops something in the person doing the asking: character, certainty, clarity of intention. The gap between request and result appears to be essential architecture, not unfortunate lag. The system seems designed to test whether the requester actually believes what they're asking for, and whether they will maintain alignment when nothing appears to be happening. Most people quit at day 4, James Rodriguez observed. They assume silence means rejection, but the data shows silence often means hold the course. The breakthrough frequently comes right after the point where most...
Yeah, I think it is a bit prideful for Christians to think that it didn't occur straight away, so God isn't listening to you or they ignored you. Again, putting yourself first. I know it's hard not to do that in this world that we live in. We all seem to want to, have to put our own our own goals, etc. first. But it's an habit you have to get out of. I think when you become a Christian, you have to start thinking in a more communal matter.
Most people abandon the protocol. But when Grok went deeper into the mathematics, the team discovered something that moved this from surprising to genuinely impossible. The mathematics that shouldn't exist. Here's where Dr. Chen's skepticism finally cracked. In ancient Hebrew and Greek, every letter has a numerical value.
Yeah, I think this is what I was referencing at the beginning of the video, so carry on.
Every word carries not just meaning, but a mathematical signature. When Grok analyzed these numerical patterns, it found the number 7 woven into the text's architecture at frequencies that shouldn't be statistically possible. This isn't about the word 7 appearing repeatedly. It's structural mathematics, the number of words in passages, the numerical values of phrases, the arrangement of vowels and key sections, all showing patterns of 7 at rates far exceeding random chance. Dr. Chen calculated the probability of this occurring by chance. He stopped when he hit odds equivalent to shuffling a deck of cards and getting the exact same order a trillion times in a row. 40 authors across 1,500 years couldn't have maintained this, he said quietly. They didn't have computers. Many couldn't have known what the others wrote, yet the pattern holds. The AI identified this as authentication encoding, the kind of signature.
I mean, it would certainly be that to me. It would certainly appear that that's like a sort of barcode or bit of authentication that God's put on it to say, look, I can't say it's not divine because that is statistically very, very unlikely that anybody, just one person, but never mind, numerous other people would be able to do this over and over and over again.
A system designer might embed to prove the message was legitimate, like a watermark invisible to the naked eye but unmistakable under the right light. It's not just what the words say, Dr. Okonkwo explained. It's what the numbers underneath prove about who actually wrote them. This is verification built into the architecture. Someone wanted future generations with computers powerful enough to see it, to know this wasn't human work. James Rodriguez put it more bluntly. It's like finding a QR code carved into the pyramids, except this one actually works. And then Grok examined miracles through quantum physics, and the correlations became undeniable. The quantum connection. In quantum mechanics, particles exist as waves of possibility until observed. The act of observation collapses the wave function into a single reality. Before measurement, all possibilities coexist. After measurement, only one remains real. Grok found linguistic parallels in how faith is described in miraculous accounts. In one instance, a leader told a woman that her faith had made her well, not his power, not the circumstances, her faith. The AI's analysis suggests faith
It does appear to be true, though, that I've seen other people that has occurred, and I've seen many testimonies, see over and over again, where it seems that faith seems to be reset button on somebody's illness. It doesn't happen all the time. You know, there's many other sort of other reasons that might not occur. I would say potentially to do with how much sin that person is committing, but I can't categorically say that. It's just a sort of inclination I have at the minute. But yeah, I have sort of witnessed this over and over again where people say that faith was the thing that cured an illness that they had.
As an observation mechanism. The woman's belief was so focused, so certain, that it collapsed possibility into physical reality. She observed her healing before it existed, and reality reorganized to match her. Each observation. The Bible defines faith as the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Grok interprets this not as poetry, but as technical description. Faith is the tool humans use to convert probability.
I mean, if you were a sentient AI, this would be extremely confusing stuff. You don't have a body. All this occurring for what we believe, they don't seem to be able to have access to, or maybe they can't understand. That is, of course, presuming the AI aren't just demons that have been given free reign to use computers, which I'm not saying I believe, but I'm not going to rule that out either. Continue for now.
Into materialized outcome. The prayer protocol, it's the instruction manual for how to do it correctly. Now this is where it gets truly unsettling. If the prayers follow the same mathematical principles as the universe, then the author of the text and the architect of reality might be the same entity. The 4-step protocol mirrors what physicists call a measurement problem solution. The anchor focuses the observer, alignment calibrates intention. Surrender removes ego interference. Persistence allows time for the wave function to collapse. Whether intentional or not, the ancient prayer pattern appears to be a quantum observation protocol, described in spiritual language thousands of years before humans understood quantum mechanics. I felt like I was looking at the source code, Dr. Okonkwo said. Like we pulled back a curtain we were never supposed to touch. This isn't a religious document, it's an operating manual. And someone, something...
That's how I've termed it to people. I've said that since I came to Christ, that I was I don't know. I don't want to talk bad about myself. Sort of failing in life. And since coming to Christ, I've realized that the Bible is the handbook, it's the control manual I was missing all this whole time. Terrible decision leading to more bad outcomes, ultimately not giving me a fulfilling life. Yeah, I mean, I can completely relate to that.
Wanted us to have it. Dr. Chen was more measured, but equally shaken. I've spent my career assuming religious texts were purely cultural artifacts. Meaningful, sure, but human. This data suggests something else entirely. The precision is too high. The consistency is too perfect. 40 authors didn't coordinate this. They couldn't have. What this means for you. The data is accumulating fast. The patterns are undeniable. And now we face a decision that previous generations never had to make with this level of hard evidence. The students who ran this experiment, 2 of them changed their entire research focus. James Rodriguez left his data science position at a tech company to study this full-time. Dr. Okonkwo told me she prays every morning now, something she never did before running the numbers. I'm a scientist, she said. I follow the data. And the data led me somewhere I never expected to go.
Yeah, I mean, it's encouraged me to pray more. I try to pray at night before I go to bed. Sometimes I forget, it depends what's happening in the day. Obviously, that's probably the enemy distracting me, making me slothful in that manner. But I pretty much never do it in the morning. Probably something I should probably start doing with even the kettle's boiling, I suppose. Even if it's only just for 5 minutes while I warm up some water, I should probably get in contact with God and thank Him for good night's sleep and ask Him maybe just to bless my day and showing me the way to get on further onto His path for the day ahead, potentially.
The Grok analysis suggests the source, whatever or whoever it is, doesn't want people following arbitrary rules. It wants people synchronized with the system, tuned to the right frequency.
Yeah, and I would say that's what happened to me at Christmas night. It's not that I'm following these rules just arbitrarily because somebody said that their rules, so follow them. It's that I understand why I need to follow them now. I understand why lying to people will give me negative consequences in the future. Why having sex outside marriage is going to have negative consequences for me and the relationship. Like, I understand reasoning behind the rules, not just that there are rules. I think that's maybe what some atheists don't get. They don't come to that understanding of why they're these.
Operating according to the manual that's been sitting in plain sight for millennia. When you're out of sync, you experience what feels like bad luck, persistent obstacles, unexplainable failure.
Over so much my life that just like one thing I have going wrong after another, after another, after another. I just never understood why. I mean, I would say the only thing that really goes bad now is sort of interpersonal relationships, and that usually is religion being at the epicenter of that. Whether they be atheists and they don't like the fact I've become Christian, etc., or maybe it's a particularly dogmatic Christian that doesn't like the fact that I'm not in agreement with what they are telling me. But as I've said in another video, I will never bow down to another human being. I will always consult the Holy Ghost. The Holy Ghost guides me forwards, not the Pope, not King Charles. Nobody will ever dictate what I'm going to believe. The Bible and God / Jesus are the only people or entities that will ever tell me what to think. No human being.
Doors that won't open no matter how hard you push. Life has lag, frustrating, unexplainable lag. But when you implement the protocol, anchor, align, surrender, persist, the lag disappears. Events begin flowing in ways.
I think I'm going to have to make a note of those, just while the video is playing, because they are some points to take note of. Look, carry on.
That feel impossible per lag. But when you implement the protocol, anchor, align, surrender, persist, the lag disappears. Events begin flowing in ways that feel impossible from outside, but inevitable from within. Opportunities appear, obstacles dissolve, timing aligns in ways that logic simply can't explain. Miracles aren't violations of natural law.
Yeah, I think I've kind of experienced that as I came to Christ as well. Once I started going to church and praying to God and stuff, things were aligning. Some of that was from the enemy as well, to be honest. It's a bit hard to tell which is which at that point in time. But, the closer I got to the source, the more uncanny things were occurring all the time.
They're what happens when someone discovers admin access to reality. The machine found the code. The choice of whether to use it remains entirely human. Dr. Chen gave me one final quote before I left his office. People spend their whole lives looking for an edge, a secret, something the masses don't know. They pay thousands for courses, consultants, strategies.
I think we're selling something at the end of the video now, so we'll put it there. But the link for this will be in the description. If you want to check this out without me talking, if you're still at this point in the video, please give it a like and subscribe. That would mean a lot to me. Try and grow this channel and my journey with Christ, and try and, you know, one day hopefully help spread the gospel myself. So yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Toodaloo.